Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and we are on stalk number 2, I guess, of the series.
Cobb
We
number
need a
2.
name, right? Yeah.
Yeah. This was not as bad as I thought it would be. This first batch, we got lucky.
Yeah, I was expecting a bad thing. I mean, it could b I mean, I thought maybe it would be, like, not as bad just as that remake one and that other one, but, like, maybe the change of pace would change things, and it kinda did because the only one out of these 3 that I remember was the first one we'll discuss, which was 2, and then I had this recollection that I remember actually seeing it in the theater as I was watching it, and I'm like,
Which,
"Wow, I don't remember." And my memory is, like, one of my strongest points. It's a negative and a plus. I mean, yeah, at the same time because, like, sometimes it's like, yeah, I don't forget anything, which is kinda bad when in terms of, like, if you wanna try and forget something. But, but this one, I'm surprised I just don't remember. I almost remember everything I've seen in the theater, and I don't know why I didn't remember this, and it just dawned on me. I looked at the year, and I looked at the thing, and I remember, like I started to remember, like, the theater reaction of scenes, and I'm like, "Wait a minute. Oh my god, I did see this in the theater." So, yeah,
which
so go
means you've
figure.
seen both Children of the Corn movies. Did you
No, I
see the
never
first
saw the
one?
first one
Oh,
in the
didn't
theater.
see the
I saw
first
the
one.
first one yeah, I didn't see that one in the theater. So
Yeah,
the only one of all is 2 I saw in the theater.
because one of the trivias is that 2 is the last in the series to be released theatrically, so they only released the first 2, and the rest all went direct to video.
Yeah, and I don't yeah, so it's like, that's why I vaguely remember, and I did see that trivia piece, and I'm like and that kind of, like, confirmed it. I'm like, "I actually did see this in the" 'cause you know what? I was remembering, like, watching a sequence in there, and I was remembering, like, a reaction of, like, not just me, but of other people, but it was like, I couldn't remember who gave the reaction with me, so I'm like, "Oh, I think I saw" you know what? Now that I think about it, I remember this coming into the theater and being so, like, excited because I'm like, "Wow, I love the original," and it was, like, so long ago, and now they're coming out with the second one, and it's like well, it's like open up the floodgates, it's kinda funny.
Yeah, so I found out something. Remember last episode, I was asking why this franchise was so popular for sequels, and I found out the answer, and that is that the sequels were produced so that New Line could retain the franchise rights. So they were pumping
Ah.
out a new sequel every 1 or 2 years just to keep the IP, rights in their hands. So that's why we have so many Children of the Corn movies. Mystery solved. So that was good to know. Um,
Yeah, I was wondering, what's the, reason for Amityville? That's your next deep
yeah,
dive. I wanna know
yeah.
why what the heck
Oh
what
god, who
happened
knows?
there?
Yeah,
'Cause that's beyond that and, like, I know Ouija is trying to keep up with it,
yeah,
but they're not even close. I mean, they're not like, I mean, like,
yeah.
literally Amityville has managed to put their moniker on every single type of film you can possibly imagine, and it's crazy. It just makes no sense. Like, they were bigger stories that like, bigger haunt things that, like, you figure that could have been, like,
I guess it's the
misused, I guess.
name. I like the name is so popular, like, that people so well known, and it's public domain. You can't copyright the freaking name of a town, so you could just make anything Amityville, and it doesn't have to matter, you know? It makes sense why people would just, like, use it as a cheap way to get attention to their film because anybody will watch that Amityville title, even if it has nothing to do with anything, just slap
Yeah,
it on there.
I think the funniest thing is that, like, it didn't end with Amityville Vibrator, and there was, like, 20 after that.
Yeah,
It was
that
funny,
was at the end.
I stumbled upon something I don't know what I was looking for, but you know how every time you Google now, it, like, sometimes it brings you into a Reddit
Yeah,
feed?
yeah, yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
remember what I was looking up, but somehow I got into this it was some movie feed, and I started to scroll down the little message board, and I saw some guy says, "Finally, I now own all 22 Amityville films." I'm like, "What the heck
22?
year was this post?" I said, "Was Reddit even invented when there were only 22?" I said, "'Cause I think there's, like, over 60." I stopped with my
Wow.
spreadsheet, I can't even keep track anymore. because I think there's, like, duplicates of them too, like, there's, I think, 2 different Amityville Thanksgivings or something. I think there's one Amityville Thanksgiving, one Amityville Turkey Day, like, you needed 2 different. I don't even know anymore, but anyway, let's get back to one franchise at a time, I guess.
Yeah,
We'll we'll
one
we'll
bad
eventually
franchise
deal
at
with
a
that
time.
Amityville one, hopefully, but
Yeah, so, the first movie up is Children of the Corn 2: The Final Sacrifice, which is an ironic title because this was definitely
right,
not the final sacrifice.
not even
And,
close.
this one was from 1992. It was directed by David Price, starring Terrence Knox as Garrett, Paul Scherer as Danny, Ryan Bowman as Micah, Christy Clark as Lacey, Rosalind Allen as Angela, Ned Romero as Red Bear, and Ed Grady as Dr. Appleby. A journalist and his son travel to Nebraska to investigate the mysterious town of Gatlin, where, unbeknownst to them, a murderous cult of children are still waiting in the cornfields. I will say, I actually liked this movie for the most part, because it turned the franchise into actual horror, and I say, let me explain what I mean by that. The first movie was primarily, I would say, horror, scary because of the creepiness of Malachi and Isaac. So, I mean, that they were really what brought the horror to the movie, and of course, the opening scene was pretty brutal. But it doesn't really have, like, a bunch of kills and stuff like a traditional horror movie. So a lot of people, I've seen people that do the Children of the Corn rankings and stuff that don't even put the original as the first as their favorite one because it is admittedly a slower paced movie. It's not as in your face horror as a lot of the sequels were. So I can kind of understand that. And Children of the Corn 2 kind of brought it back to being like a traditional slasher type horror movie in the traditional sense. And I kind of have to give it credit for that because it took the IP and actually made it a full blown horror movie as opposed to a Stephen King adaptation.
Yeah, I like like, the premise of this one. I like that one, it's a direct sequel,
Direct
and
sequel,
we're
like, it picks up right where the last one left off, like, they're busing the kids out of there.
yeah, I kinda like that there's, like, they give you this aftermath, and it's, how many sequels have we seen that when there's an original and then a sequel comes out years later, and it tries to take off right where it left, but it, like, kinda, like, doesn't necessarily give any consequences. It just shows, like, the film, like, what happened in the last one and kinda then, like, skips ahead 30 years. This
Right.
kinda takes place right after, and I mean, for the most part, I mean, and I say this with a grain of salt, meaning because based on that subject matter, it's a very realistic progression, you know? They
Yeah, like,
found kids that are wandering the streets. Some eventually, I'm sure, like, whatever the survivors of the first one have went and said, "Hey, dude, you police, you gotta go to this town. There's crazy crap going on there. There's weird kids. They're, like, half Amish, half something. They're doing some crazy stuff over there. You better get over there." And it makes sense. They went and investigated. Now they have all these kids that are kind of supposedly out, kind of broken out of that spell now that Isaac and Malachi are gone. And, and then they try and they've like, okay, well, we need to relocate these kids. So they go, what you would think, they go to a nearby town, and the other town's like, okay, sure, we're being neighborly. Let's take the kids in, and there's this whole thing going on. And but I like then that it adds like, so you're like, okay, it could have just stopped there, and then the kids just snap back into the corn thing. But no, they go through this whole like weird like dirty big corn, like it's like there's big farming. Well, now there's big corn involved in this. And and there's this whole like backstory with a reporter in it to where honestly that story is cool enough. It's kind of like an interesting story, but then they have this whole thing where it's like, wait a minute, guys, forget you don't forget, you're still in the middle. These kids are not okay. They're still in the whole like he who walks behind the rose
yeah,
portion of
they're
their
still they're
life.
still in the cult. You just moved them out of
Yeah.
the town. They're not really out of the,
Yeah, which shows that it's not necessarily the town of Gatlin, this is bigger, and they
yeah.
did it in a way that wasn't as cheesy as you'd expect, honestly. I was surprised how much I remember, like, not hating it ever, but, like, I was like, "Okay, but years now have passed, I mean, what am I gonna think now after seeing all these things?" And I remember watching it, I'm like, it's still not that bad. I mean, it had, like, I still remember, like, being, when I was younger, like, Christy Clark, was, like, a thing, like, "Whoa, who's that?" Kinda thing. I
Yeah,
don't know
the
where
girl
she ever
next
went.
door. Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure where she went and things, and Rosalind Allen I've seen in a bunch of things, and I always thought she was kinda cute back then too, she was the woman that owns the bed and breakfast there. I almost said bed and brothel, that's
I
not what
I've
I meant,
I just read that, Paul Scherer, who played Danny, is now a real estate broker. He got out of acting, but,
really?
um and I will say, early on in the movie, I was a little I guess, a little annoyed by the father-son dynamic because, Danny is like he's just this jackass. That's just all the only word
Yeah.
I could describe. He's just this punk kid. And I can understand, like, he's got animosity towards his dad. Very troubled father-son relationship, but it was giving me flashbacks to the 2009 one where they're just
I was
bickering all
gonna
the time.
say, they managed to capture that in
And
there,
I was
but at
like,
least they
"Oh my
went
god."
to a if you think about it, they took it the arc to its
Yeah,
way it needed to
I
go.
think as the movie progressed, and then as he ends up, meeting Lacey, that he kinda softens, so it's a typical thing where you have a troubled teen and he goes to a new town. Usually it's because they moved or something, and you've seen this story play out multiple
Yeah.
times, and then he meets the girl next door, and then that, like, turns him around, and it's a very common trope. So, but as the movie went on, I ended up really liking these characters, and the kills in this one are freaking hilarious. Like, they're great. The one I think one flaw this movie had that I wish it didn't have was they used some really bad CGI early in the
Yeah.
movie to depict a certain sequence, and honestly, they could have taken that CGI out completely, and this would have been a better movie because they didn't use crazy CGI for the end like the first movie did. Like, they didn't go all out on CGI at the end of the movie. So there was no real reason to have it in the beginning of the movie. It was kind of a weird thing. So I don't know why they did that, but
I'll tell you why. You look at what year that came out with, was '92, right? It was right
yeah.
after T2, right after all CGI was getting trying to be used at all, and you figure they probably got a limited CGI budget on this, and they're like, "Okay, let's before we run out of money," they probably figured, "In case we run out, let's get our CGI in first before
You're
we run
probably
out of the
right.
movie."
I mean, you're probably right. And I heard that or I read that I believe they reused the tunneling effect from the first movie. I think they just used clips from that when they showed the tunnel monster or whatever when it tunnels under the earth kinda thing. I think they just
Yeah.
lifted that completely from the first movie. But, so I'm guessing the budget wasn't super high for this one, but, it's not that bad, and there is a scene in this movie. Oh my god, this is the best scene. This this lady's crossing the road in a wheelchair, and a truck hits her, and she goes flying through. Was that like a diner, like a restaurant? She
Yeah,
goes
like with
flying through the diner window in the wheelchair. It is the most freaking hilarious thing I've seen. Like, it instantly transformed the movie for me. Like, I was already kind of digging the movie. I thought it was okay. When I saw that scene, I was like, okay, I like this movie. Like, I this is great. I love this.
Yeah, no, same here, and it was great what was great what was funny is it reminded me of, like, the Mrs. Deagle sequence in Gremlins, but, like,
That's exactly
reversed,
right.
kinda
Yeah.
like this time she goes flying into a structure, and that one she went flying out, but
And
either way,
it's not well done, so
no.
so
But
you
that's I
can
think that I
that's the
if it
charm.
was, it would have not been as good, I think.
You're
It
right,
needed
yeah,
to be
yeah,
this level
oh,
of quality.
it reminds me of one of those clips, like, they would like, Jimmy Fallon would play on The Tonight Show or something, like, for some reason, like, it's one of those, like, well, they like the
Yeah.
Paul Rudd moment where he would always show the wheelchair going off the cliff in Mac and Me. This is what it
Oh,
reminded
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that running gag,
Or like
that
Toonces, like the
yeah,
cat
it just
from
seems
Sound of
like
Life.
one of those, like, crazy stupid clips you would just play over and over, like, that would be a blast to watch with people while having a few drinks, like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was great. So, yeah, I don't know, I actually like this one. And maybe my expectations were just so low for the Children of the Corn sequels, but I mean, I enjoyed every minute of this. I thought it was great.
If you remember, right? So look at it this way. So was it I'm wondering if we did it in the way we did it kind of gave us that determined failure rate that we thought was coming
Yes.
because if you think about it, like if we would have done 1, 2, and 3 in the first batch, we'd have been like, wow, this series is actually
It's amazing,
on
yeah.
to a good start. And then we got a hit with that dud one in the middle again. Now, granted, I'm sure there were other duds coming, but like it kind of reminds me of like the Hellraiser series where the first 3 were really good, in my opinion. I like the first 3.
Yeah.
And then after that, it just went bonkers. It
I
went
think
from
that's what's
like,
gonna happen.
yeah, I mean, it went from me going to space, and then those ones where they just took other scripts and threw Pinhead in it.
Yeah.
It's like I hope we don't get to that level of frustration there, but
I feel like we
I don't
are.
know.
I think this is a heavily front-loaded franchise. I just did not expect I thought the only good movie in the franchise was the first one going into
Yeah.
this, having not seen them, and now I realize there's 3 good movies.
Well,
Uh,
there's that other one that I'm wondering if you'll like, that one that I've kinda had the soft spot for, the one with, like, Michael Ironside, like, later
oh,
on.
yeah. Yeah, that one
Like,
we still got
I'm
that one to look
waiting,
forward to.
I'm looking forward to that because I wanna kinda see your opinion of that, if you like it as much as me, or I'm just, like, on some weird, like, I don't know, like, it just hit me at the right time and I liked it. I'm interested to see to revisit it because I haven't seen it in years, so,
But yeah, I think
but
this is a perfect not I mean, I would say perfect sequel. It's not a great movie, but by any means, but it's a fun movie to watch and it's certainly watchable. But from a sequel perspective, they did exactly what a sequel needs to do. It's bigger, it's better, it's got better kills, it's more outrageous. It takes everything that was kind of maybe a little dull about the first movie and spruces it up with a bunch of like crowd pleasing horror moments. I mean, it doesn't have the creepy, unfortunately, it doesn't have an Isaac or Malachi, it doesn't have the really creepiness of the kids, which I think a lot
no,
of the
but the
sequels.
lead kid wasn't not it wasn't I wouldn't say uncreepy, he
No, no, he wasn't
just
uncreepy.
wasn't like Malachi and Isaac creepy. He
They
was like a different
they've
kinda
had a
creepy.
hard time, I believe, in this franchise replicating the creepiness of Isaac. I
Yeah.
think they just have not been able to pull it off, but
Why they bring him back later on, I guess.
yeah, until they bring him back. But yeah, so I just thought this was a great sequel. But that brings us to the next entry,
Yeah.
which oh my god,
This
Children of
was a
the Corn
shock.
3. This one was
Yeah.
a shocker. Children of the Corn 3: Urban Harvest. This came out 3 years later in 1995. It was directed by James D.R. Hickox and it starred Daniel Cerny as Eli, Ron Melendez as Joshua, Jim Metzler as William, Nancy Lee Grahn as Alice, John Clare as Malcolm, Mary Morrow as Maria, Michael Ensign as Father Frank, and Duke Stroud as Earl. Two brothers connected to the murderous children's cult of Gatlin, Nebraska, are taken to Chicago by an adoptive couple. So going into this, I have already loved the premise because the premise is you take the kids out of the cornfields and you put them in the big city. And this was kind of gave me like Leprechaun in the Hood vibes. Like,
It did. Yeah, like, this proves that this is what I thought you were gonna say, but I'll say what I was gonna say, like, it proves you could take the kid out of the corn, but you can't take the corn out of the kid.
that's exactly right. So I was on board from the minute this movie started because
And
I
it
thought,
kinda has big corn back in it.
yeah,
It
it's
has
got
big corn
well,
back. Yeah.
the big corn thing now makes the 2020 version make sense that they brought back big corn. Like that,
Yeah, that
it
now we
kind of
see
makes
why.
sense.
It's like they tried to
Yeah.
grab the pieces of everything good
Yeah.
thing, in the
I didn't
sequels.
realize Big Corn was a running thread through this, but yeah, I love the premise. I like take these 2 kids, you put them in the big city. Oh man, this is great. This is just like this is like what Crocodile Dundee 2. It's like you just switch the settings around. And
Yeah. Like, and it kinda, like, is weird because you would think it's like, well, okay, like, corn in the middle of an urban city, like, how is that gonna even work? And uh, to their credit, they found a way that made sense that you didn't go, "Well, that's ridiculous." Yeah, and, like,
yeah.
it kind of made sense in the world of the film. That is, it's like,
Yeah,
you
no,
know
and then the kid in this one, at first glance, I thought, well, this kid's not. They're repeating the same mistake. The kid's not creepy enough. He looks like just this little adorable little kid, like you said, that you can hand him Pokemon cards and he'll be happy. Like he's just
yeah.
not
It
creepy.
was very
But
impish,
yeah, but
like
he's actually very good.
yeah.
He's a great actor, and when he starts getting creepy, like, he turned me around, like, it actually grew on me. I was like, "Oh, man, this kid kinda is pretty creepy." He reminded me of kind of like the girl in the 2020 version where at first I didn't think she was that creepy, but her performance eventually won me over, and this
So
kid's
would you say
performance
you were corn again in out of this movie?
yes, maybe. Amazed.
Oh,
I don't know.
sorry. You
I
knew
don't
that
know.
was coming. Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
amazed. Oh, how have we not said that more
I don't know.
today? That was a good one.
Yeah, he won me over. The little
Yeah.
scamp won me over. I
Yeah.
thought he was suitably creepy as it went on, but
But you know what? You know what too cracked me up in this one because this one like has like scenes that like you should like just are just partly ridiculous, but yet they worked so well in this. Like literally in the middle of this, you get like a Teen Wolf esque basketball sequence. Like I'm like, okay, this kid is from like Amish Corntown, and but yet he's like all of a sudden he got like these skills to like slam dunk and layup and do all these
oh, which
crazy.
we have to mention, there's our Buffy connection there,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
because, Nicholas Brennan is one of the basketball players in the, in that scene. But yeah, this movie follows the rules of, they what is this, like the horror sequel rules, like the first you have the original, and then you have the second one, which was like bigger body count, and then the third one kinda just goes off the rails and just goes
And you got to
nuts.
take it. Yeah, gotta take it out of the original setting too. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
so it follows the perfect franchise sequel rules, but man, the special effects in this one are to die for. I loved every
yeah,
kill in this movie is phenomenal. There are people on fire, roaches bursting out of skulls, creep show style. There's a head that gets
the
ripped off
mother
of
where she gets like impaled, like and like there's a lot of
what's
cool
it,
stuff in this.
impalements, like heads ripping off with the spine coming out like
Yeah,
Mortal
like
Kombat. I can't, and then that's not even get
actually,
to the
now that you
end.
said that, when did Mortal Kombat come out? I'm gonna look that up because you're
Oh, look
right.
that
That's what
up,
that
yeah.
reminded me of.
But and that's not even getting to the end where there's like this giant freaking practical effect animatronic monster. Oh my gosh, this
92.
movie,
It was 3 years later.
there
So
you go. That
there
was
you go. I
totally
bet you that
Mortal
was so
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat like referenced. Okay.
Oh man, I can't say enough about this movie. Like I liked 2. I thought it was enjoyable. This took everything I liked about 2 and just like ramped it up to 1,000. This movie is completely bonkers. I had no clue. This is to me is my hidden gem of probably of the entire summer Slaycation. This is my
Yeah.
hidden gem that if you have not seen Children of the Corn 3, this is a sit back and just have fun movie.
Yeah.
It's that good.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy is like you figure like it did when it started off, I'm like, I don't remember this one at all. I said, how are they gonna pull this one off? But yet they found a way. They found a way to pull
It's
off literally a
ridiculous.
Children of the Corn in the middle of a city. Like, I mean,
I
that's
I think it's because they just didn't care, like, I don't know who this director is, James D.R. Hickok, like, he just went
wow, did he
full
do
blown, like,
anything else?
I don't know, he just yeah, look that up because he just
Yeah.
went full blown nuts, he didn't care, like, they said, "We're just gonna go for it, and we're gonna do stupid stuff," and hats off to the special effects team. I tried to look up who the special effects people were, and it was a lot of people, so I don't know who to give, like, ultimate credit to, but hats off to them. Tons of practical effects. They didn't overuse a bunch of CGI stuff. I mean, it
His
was
first movie. This was actually his
yeah.
first movie he did. After that, he did a lot of weird movies I never really heard of. But,
Well,
but
hats
he
off
did
to Mr. Hickox. You did awesome.
but he did I don't know what this says editorial department. Is that editor? 'Cause he's
Yeah,
done
so
movies
hit
in
it.
there. Oh, yeah. So he was an editor, and he's edited some huge movies. Like, he was assistant film editor, What About Bob? I Love You to Death, Field of Dreams, first assistant editor,
Dang.
Waxwork,
Okay.
Master of the Universe. He was the apprentice editor, and he was apprentice editor on Greystoke, Legend of Tarzan,
I
and
love
he
Grace Stoke Legend of
yeah,
Tarzan.
and he was also an actor too. So he was in Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. Go figure. The 3rd movie of that franchise. Wow, this is weird.
That's
He's done a
great.
couple yeah, this we need to, like, delve into the world of this Hickox fellow
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
wanna know what his thing is. He's like, "Oh, he wrote, directed" yeah, he did a lot of things. And it says, look, it even says in his little bio, directing his first feature film at the age of 27, the successful Children of the Corn Urban Harvest.
It deserved to be successful.
Yeah.
Maybe at 27, he just didn't realize that what he was doing was not what a normal director would do, and he had that freedom to be outside of the box because this movie's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. I'm not saying it's a spectacular movie in terms of as movies go. It is a horror movie, but at the same time, it's so much fun. If you're a horror fan, I think it was a blast.
Yeah. No, it definitely was. It's definitely a fun, and it was, I think, going into this with, like, the lowest of expectations is helping us, like, kind of keep us,
Yeah,
our senses open to appreciating what we're getting, and, like, yeah, we're not
exactly. Yeah,
getting Citizen Kane here, but we're getting, like,
yeah. Like, I'm not going into these expecting like this deep plot or
yeah,
fantastic dialogue. But if you can throw a bunch of like crazy practical effect kills in front of me, I'm happy camper, man. This
actually,
this was fun.
that's a good sequel name, Citizen Corn. Like, that would be cool. What would that be about, I wonder? That'll
Oh,
be the next sequel that comes
that'll be the
out.
next
New
one.
Line, are you listening? Are you around New
Uh,
Line anymore? I don't even know.
yeah. So I don't know, guys. You got to go watch Children of the Corn 3. Who knew? Who knew that this was the gem, the kernel in the
Yeah,
rough of this corn
Colonel,
cob pile?
the
Yeah.
Nugget, yeah.
I just loved it. I thought it was great. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Maybe I was
No,
just
'cause
so
it was
starved.
enjoyable. Look, there's movies I've watched in this podcast, but I literally had to, like, watch it, like, 4 times because I was so not paying attention to it because I couldn't get into it, that I've had to, like, rewatch it again and again, like, right before the show so I can remember anything about it. But this one was, like, so entertaining that it was an easy watch, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's just fun. It's not a I'm not saying it's a great movie. I'm just saying it's if you're a horror fan, it's a lot of fun. You like seeing practical effects, you like seeing kills. If you're a fan of that 80s, I mean, even though it's 95, it kind of feels like an
Yeah,
80s movie. And
it
I think
does.
that's what I liked about it the most. The last one here on our list is unfortunately where the franchise starts to turn, I believe.
A little bit,
This
yeah.
was Children of the Corn: The Gathering came out only a year later, so they were really trying to milk those franchise rights. 1996, directed by Greg Spence, but weirdly enough, has some like big name actors in this.
Yeah,
So
it's got some credentials in here.
Naomi Watts stars as Grace Rhodes, Jamie Renee Smith as Margaret Rhodes, Karen Black, horror legend, as
Yeah.
June Rhodes, Mark Salling as James Rhodes, Brent Jennings as Donald Atkins, and Tony Marsh as Sandra Atkins.
And
A
I didn't
nurse.
list him, but it has a Tim and I
Yes, we have
legend in
to.
here.
There's
The
a.
guy, yeah, it's the
You
guy
want to
from,
explain it, Brian?
yeah, so, like, I don't know if you're, obviously, Tim and I, if you didn't pay attention to all 300 plus episodes we've done, we are big fans of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and the doctor in this movie was played by the guy that, is, like, in the opening sequence, that's, like, Steve Martin's boss, and he's just like, and I'm doing
Oh,
a
he's
visual
about
that
to
you
start.
can't
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
but yeah, like, the guy that's, like, reading the ad campaign, and he's going really slow, and he's taking the glass off, and Tim found out that he's in a bunch of John Hughes movies, so he's obviously a John Hughes friend, and John Hughes, tends to reuse his
Yeah.
group
Oh, he's
a
so
lot.
great. He's such a great character actor, and
Yeah,
I've always known him from that plane. That like I love that scene, even though he doesn't
yeah,
say a word of dialogue.
I know.
I
Can you
just
imagine
love
him as a doctor in this, and you're sitting there waiting for your results if you have, like, your blood pressure, and he's like,
it. He's
and he's like, takes his glasses off, I'd be like, "I thank God he's like he talks in this, so
oh
he
my
could
gosh,
get out
it
the
was good. I was
results."
so happy to see that. But
Yeah,
anyway,
and Naomi Watts looks so young in this movie. I don't know, how old was she in this? Because I remember her in Tank, right? Tank Girl was her first one, or the first thing I
uh,
remembered her in. I
yeah,
think that's
she
what I remember
was.
her first
So I think
from,
she
but
was born in '68, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, so
Yeah, see,
where
she was born in '68, so this was '96. So so she was like
so
what,
her
28,
Yeah, something like that, and she was, let's see, this is, oh my god,
27,
that's right.
20.
She was in, she had, like, little roles up until then, but, like, when she first came onto my scene, even though she was in Matinee, she's Shook Up
Yeah.
Shopping Cart Starlet. I don't remember her from that, and I saw that in the theater too. What I remember her from for the first time seeing was, Tank Girl, when she played Jet Girl, and I was like, "Oh, who is this?" And then it seems like she's been in stuff since, but a couple of years later, then's when she did, Children of the Corn: The Gathering, was after that, so
You know what I
you know
love
what I
about her?
don't like about this movie right off the bat is I don't like the poster they used for this.
Yeah, the poster's really
It's not a
lame.
great poster.
Um, let me list the other cast 'cause I wanna talk about Naomi
Yeah,
Watts
sorry.
again. Oh, yeah, we list I wanted to
Oh,
read
yeah,
the
yeah.
synopsis, that's what it was. Nurse returns to her hometown in Nebraska only to find that the town's children have fallen under a mysterious mass illness connected to its sinister past. Yeah, going back to Naomi Watts, the thing I love about her is she's I mean, she's a A-list. I would say she's an A-list actress. Like
Oh, yeah.
she's been
Now
in
she is for sure, yeah.
a ton of like big movies, but she's never shied away from her horror roots. Like she's not one of those actresses that made one horror movie, you know, like in this case, Children of the Corn movie, and then just never went back to that genre. Like she did the Goodnight Mommy remake.
The
Um,
day David Lynch stuff, what's it,
Twin
Mulholland
Peaks,
Drive, and
Mulholland Drive, yeah.
yeah, I mean, so
So and King Kong, which I would argue is a
oh,
genre
right, right, right,
film.
yeah.
So she's done all, and I love that she's just so versatile. Like she's never gotten pigeonholed into anything. She does everything, every genre you can think of. But I love that she'll always go back and dip into the horror well every now and again, which I thought was really cool. And she's great in this. I mean, you could tell she's like
Yeah.
it's funny, and maybe it's partially because you know who they are now, but it's just like watching Jennifer Aniston in Leprechaun. It's like you like they're the most riveting thing on the screen because their acting their talent is just so off the wall compared to the movie they happen to be in, and she like leaps off the screen in every scene she's in this. She's so good, and of course Karen Black is amazing as always. But the unfortunate thing about this one, I thought it was interesting. Like the premise I thought was interesting. Like they tied this in, like they almost kind of made this. They almost tried to explain what the evil was in this
Yeah.
movie. They almost kind of made it like almost tried to make an origin story out of it because there's a story about um a child preacher that is murdered and and is buried in the cornfield or burned in the cornfields and like there's a whole like lore and you go okay maybe this is where all this came from. I don't know. I mean I don't know if it truly ties in uh, completely, but it was at least an attempt to kind of provide some kind of origin story. I think the biggest problem this film had is, especially after seeing the last one, is I thought the pace was just really sluggish, and it doesn't
Yeah,
have, it
and it's
doesn't
the
have,
shortest one so far. Like,
yeah, that's
time-wise, it's actually short. Almost every other one was 1 hour and 32 minutes, and this is like, 1 hour and 20 something.
it
It was
felt much
crazy.
longer to me. It
It
felt,
did.
and it because it doesn't have, it's a much more serious movie than the previous two
Yeah.
entries. And I think it almost takes itself too seriously, and you don't get these crazy kills. You don't get the wall. I mean, there's some good, decent kills, but there's nothing like crazy. And it's not, you don't have these like crazy explosion of practical
There's
effects. It's
almost like a
just,
Final Destination kill in there with the guy where he's in the barn, and,
yeah,
like, the things keep falling on him one by one, impaling
uh,
him. I'm like even though it's obviously being done to him, but it's not like it's a fluke accident, but it's just funny how that I'm like, "Oh my god, this total Final Destination type kill, like, everything's just falling in and
yeah, but
impaling him."
it's not as fun a movie. I don't. It's just it's very somber. It seems
Yeah,
very dark.
it tried to go back to its dark roots a little bit, but the problem is it's kinda hard to do that after 3 when we've already gone down that, like, we're just gonna do whatever we want kind of thing, and then try to bring it back without even, like, especially only a year later, it kinda brings it right back where it's like, doesn't seem like it's now it, like, kind of ruins the momentum of the series the way it was going. Like, I would have rather like, at some level, would have rather had this, like, bonkers, like the 3rd one kinda thing, like
Yeah, totally. Like I wish they had just kept doing that. Like even
I
if
mean
they
I mean
did the same level of bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, I did like some aspects, like, I like how she was having the premonition dreams kinda thing, and it was really happening, and how the kids, when they would appear, were kinda creepy, but, like
Now this one does have creepy kids. I will give them
yeah,
that. Like that one kid, especially at
yeah.
the beginning,
Oh,
was
yeah, like, he's,
really
like
creepy.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, the main weird
The
kid is
main
kinda
dude,
creepy.
yeah.
He looks like the generic, like, ghost kid that you see on these shows where he's, like, got the little hat and the
Yeah, he was good. Like that's I almost when I was first started watching this, I was like, "Oh, they're bringing back the like creepiness of the kids. Like this is going to be really good." And then it just kind of like fell apart. It was just very sluggish. I don't think it's a bad movie per se. I mean, it's not terrible, but I think because Naomi Watts is just
she
so
kinda
good. She kinda, like, saves it to some extent. I just think it's a dull movie in comparison to the other ones, and I think you're taking it I hate to say it, but when you're taking it out of the cornfield, you almost have to have something to fill in I guess the inherent creepiness of the setting. Like I think you can
Yeah.
get away with a little bit of dullness if you're set in the town and you're set among the fields and stuff. I think you can kind of get away with a little bit of sluggishness, but it doesn't fit in this movie because you're kind of taking that away. And
Yeah.
it was always like we removed the setting, and she's technically still in the small town, but it's
Yeah, town is there, but
you're not among the rows.
yeah.
So it doesn't feel like you're in a Children of the Corn movie for most of it because there's a lot of interior shots. So I don't know, it's like you almost took out the setting, but you also took out all the action, and you just it just it's almost like the worst parts of everything just mashed together, and it was disappointing. It was disappointing because I was expecting with Naomi Watts in here, I thought it was going to be I thought that was gonna be the saving grace, and maybe in some
Yeah.
ways it is, but it's not enough of a saving
I
grace
like
to
that
make it a
pun.
good movie.
Did you intend that pun? Because her name is
Yeah.
Grace in the movie?
Oh, I forgot about no, I did not intend that, but there you go. She is the saving grace. Yeah, saving grace roads. But yeah, yeah, this was kind of a letdown after 3, but I think anything would have been a letdown after 3 probably, but this one was, I still marked this one in my ranking. I did put this one behind, like, this one's still the bottom of my ranking.
I gotta put mine in there, my running rankings. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I put 4 at the bottom. I even put it behind the 2020 remake. Uh, but not because it's that bad a movie, but it's just because it didn't it was the one I was the least interested in as I was watching it. Like I never clicked with it. I never was entertained by it. I felt like it was long. I felt like it was sluggish. And I didn't feel that way with either the 2009 remake or the 2020 reboot. Like those movies, even though they were not great and I didn't really like them, I wasn't bored by them. And that's a big difference, I think.
I know I still these 3, I'm not sure. The first ones we have matched perfectly, 1, 2, and 3. I'm still not decided yet on 4, 5, and 6 again.
I'm,
I need
yeah,
to, like, double check. Part of me, like, wants to put f 4 higher just because of Naomi Watts, and,
I'm,
but, like, then again, 2009 had some, it had some elements that I liked that would beat the 2021. So, but I don't know if 4 can beat the 2009 one because of, like, at least the 2009 one had, like, like, it didn't bore me. It frustrated me, but it didn't bore me as much
yeah,
as the 4th
that's
one,
the
so
thing. That's the problem. That's why could not put 4 above that one because I wasn't, like 2009, I at least was entertained by it, even though it was irritating. It was an
yeah.
irritating form of entertainment. But I think the first 3 are locked in. I feel like they're gonna be locked in.
Yeah, the only one I think when I get to that one I told you about, which I keep forgetting the name, which one it is, 'cause I know they gave it a number when it originally came out, and then they pulled the number off and just
The
left the subtitle, 'cause I
subtitle,
think some
yeah.
of these do that, like, I think, like, I've seen it listed as Children of the Corn for The Gathering and Children of the Corn Gathering. So,
Yeah.
that's why I'm having trouble remembering it, but that one I could see possibly being up to at least possibly beating 2. I don't know if it'll beat 3 yet. I have to watch it again and see, but I could see
Yeah.
that one as the only one off the top of my head that could possibly climb up there when I
I'm
see it again.
leaving
Because 'cause
mine
I'm just hoping
pretty
I remember it
flexible.
as fondly as it is, like, I hope I'm just not remembering it way better than it was, because
Yeah.
that'd be
Yeah.
disappointing.
I'm leaving mine very flexible. I'm really just putting the rankings in right now so I can keep a kind of remember, because with 11 movies, it would be really hard to not put any rankings in and then have to go back and try to rank 11 from memory.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep a rough ranking of what I've watched so far, just so that I'll have some kind of reference point later on when we get into these other ones.
You know
But
what? I
yeah,
think I'm gonna do that though now. I think I'm gonna put the way because I think honestly right now I think it would be the same order we have together. But I think I may like I said I may revisit those. Like really think long and hard if I want to the 2009 2021 stay where they are, and 4 does it
yeah,
move up maybe slightly one. I don't
it's
know.
gonna be rough. It's gonna be
Yeah, it will
tough.
be. Yeah.
Um, so next week we're gonna cover. I think so. We're covering 5, 6, and 7 next week. Is that right?
believe so,
I
because
don't
I
know what the
think what
exact actual names are because they stop the numbering system after a
yeah,
while.
so 5, 6 so it's 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, and then I think it's 8, is it 8, 9, 10, 11, or there's one we have 4 weeks, but I gotta look at it because I didn't finish those rundowns yet. So,
Yeah.
once again, I know people are gonna be like, "How many times do you move?" But, we're just moving a couple of blocks this time, so but we're still in the middle of trying to get everything done, and I did set up the sound bar, which is sounds amazing, by the way.
Yeah,
That is
I
actually
gotta
works
get down that
really
road.
well. It was I tell you the one I got, the I was watching, I just threw on something, Julie's like, because our cable, like, the whatever channel I had on wasn't put in 5.1 or any kind of thing, so I didn't hear the rear speaker. She goes, "Oh, just put something on Vudu." So I'm like, "You know what? Let me put a Star Wars movie on." So I put on Force Awakens out of the Star Wars batch, the first one that I saw popped up on my thing, so I put that on, and that sounded really good. Like, there was the sequence with the TIE fighter, it felt like it was, like, flying around the room, it sounded like, and, like, there was that creature that, like, stomps, like, in in the beginning that, like, Rey goes after, that the little thing is on, like, you hear, like, the subwoofer was like, "Boom, boom, boom." So
Nice,
it
yeah.
seems like it's a good system. The only problem is I'm so used to having a little, like, digital readout on, like, my big giant,
Yeah,
receivers that I used to
receiver,
have,
yeah.
and so this, you have to, like, hit it by icons, but there's a voice that'll say, like, "Surround sound on, surround sound on," but the voice wasn't working at first, so I'm just hitting these lights, and I'm like, "I don't know what the heck I'm hitting." I'm like, "I'm gonna have to restart this whole thing," but then I figured it out,
Yeah, since my
finally.
receiver died, I've gotta get something up there because it's not the
Yeah, I
same.
I would go the soundbar route, especially if,
Yeah,
you get the ones that have the basically, the soundbar represents the 3 speakers in the front, and then it comes with
yeah.
the 2 back, and then you just sync them all up,
I
so
think I'd be perfectly happy with that, honestly.
yeah, it
I'm
did a
kinda
way better job than I thought. I was always such a staunch, like, he was like, "Can we just let's just get a sound bar and a thing." I'm like, "No, I need the surround sound. I need to have 5.1." And this actually apparently does 7.1 technically, it's capable of, but I don't
yeah,
I think I need 2 more speakers for that.
I've gotten away from the, like, wanting to have a component for every single thing. I just want simplicity now in my life.
Yeah.
I don't need all this complexity and speaker
I will
wire running every
recommend what I did to save on HDMI space, because I didn't think I needed to, like, run anything through there like I did the receiver to make sure it has the so I just, basically, I have everything going to the TV visually, like Xbox and cable box and everything, and I use an optical audio cable, one optical audio cable from the TV to the thing. Plus, I can't figure out honestly, my new TV, I couldn't find the one that says which is the HDMI out. So I need to figure that, piece out. I'm not sure what that was. I literally have HDMI 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't see an HDMI out, which makes no sense whatsoever.
uh,
But, I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, so we'll have either it's gonna be there's 5 movies left 'cause
Yeah.
there's 11, so we'll either do 3 next week or
Oh,
we'll do
so
2
I
next
think
week.
it's 3 and then 2. I think we end with the 2 or the
That's 2,
last week.
yeah, okay, so it'll be Children of the Corn 5, Fields of Terror, Children of the Corn 666, Isaac's Return, which I'm looking forward to, and, Children of the Corn Revelation.
That's I think the one I want I'm
And
curious
that's a
the one
good
I wanna see if I
grouping.
remember.
That's a good
Yeah.
grouping because those 3 all came out within 3 years of each other, whereas the last 2, there was a big 10-year jump before you hit Children of the Corn Genesis and then a 7-year jump before you hit Children of the Corn Runaway, so
Oh, wait, no, you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, maybe Genesis was the one I like. Oh, boy, I gotta see this now real quick. Children of the Corn, Genesis, is that the one I liked? No, it was the other one. Okay, it was the one right before that. Where
Revelation. Well, they
yeah.
got such generic names, I mean, come on. Who
And
can
yet,
keep track
I'm
of this
saying they
stuff?
avoided your bugaboo one, the Bloodlines one,
Which
so
I think the plot of mine that I had said it last episode
oh, yeah,
about
yeah.
Bloodlines, I think that's already been taken by one of these, if I'm not
Oh, the
mistaken.
plot is taken of it? Yeah.
Yeah, the where she comes back. So, they
Well,
may have already
that's a scene I think, the one I like, the girl comes back too. She's, like, visiting her or well, not she comes back, but she comes back to her grandmother's house. Her grandmother passed or I guess either passed away or she hasn't heard from her grandmother, so she comes back where she used to spend time as, like, a kid, kinda thing.
yeah.
So,
Well
that's a
well, not have
common, like, corn trope I notice in these.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. So, yeah, so I may have I may have ripped off one of the other films of the franchise because I haven't seen these, so I don't know. I don't know what the plots are for all of these.
You know, it's
But
funny, which a joke we haven't mentioned because of Cone. We haven't said Stephen Corn yet, but there's actually a store in New Jersey called Stephen Corn. It's like a furniture place. And I
That's
think
good.
I thought I took a picture of him in front of it once, or oh no, maybe I was on his way to him and I stopped there and I took a picture of it to show him, but he knew about it.
That's
So
great. Yep. So we will see you guys back here next week for more stomping among the cornfields with Children of the
oh,
Corn
we
franchise.
should mention we have a very big surprise. I think we just need to get Cone to finalize, right? To send us the full file of it, and then we might
Yeah.
be
Yes, me
releasing
too.
something that will blow your mind when we tell you the background of it and who did it. That's the thing. You're
Yes.
going to think literally some big name, huge person had done this for us, and it was just a favor we got from somebody. And I know I'm being vague because I want to reveal it properly and give the person all their due, which I'm telling you, this person has one of the brightest futures in art I've ever seen, and that's your
Yes.
clue. That's all I'll
Yep.
say.
Yep. I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care. We will see you back here next week for more Summer Slaycation.